Hey, NASCAR fans, Big D back and on this special Independence Day, we're talking Chicago, oh no, with my friend FantasyBosco, co-host of the, what is it, Race Guru
Thunder Hour.
Thunder out, thank you. Say that 3 times fast. Which I've been a guest of multiple times. I highly recommend it because Sean and Rich produce excellent NASCAR coverage and also see all kinds of content, whether it be football, baseball, other sports.
Thank you. Yes, very kind there, Dylan. Yeah, we cover them all over there at FantasyGuru.com. It's always a pleasure when you come on the pod, man. It really is.
Especially when you try and stump me with trivia, which never works.
No. I think you are undefeated on trivia. I could be wrong. I'd have to check with Sean on that. But I do believe you are undefeated on trivia.
So I mean, every time the 4th of July comes around, all NASCAR memories go back in time. Is there a special race that when you think of the 4th of July in history that this day reminds you of?
You know, it really doesn't. I mean, I remember watching, always watching and wanting to see the fireworks after the Daytona race, right? Back in the day, they'd have a little bit of the broadcast run long so you could see the fireworks. I remember my first race ever was at Talladega in the middle of summer. And so I don't think I should be associating it with the 4th of July, but it's always peak heat time up here. And so that's my first race ever experience is usually what comes to mind first when I think about racing in 4th of July. Like I said, it shouldn't. It was Talladega, 86. Bobby Hillin Jr. won. I believe it was, I want to say the Die Hard 400 or 500. I could be wrong on that. I'd have to look it up. Because I think it was Die Hard. I could be wrong. Maybe it was Talladega. I'm trying to, back then they didn't have the same race sponsorships, but that day was insane. I ended up highly dehydrated, drank all of our Gatorade, all our water, all our pop. I remember them constantly taking me to the shade, even though I wanted to watch the cars. I remember going down next to the fence. Back then, you could get really close to the fence in the stairway. And since it was my first race, the little security guy just let me chill there. And I remember getting hit in the face with rubber from the tires, marbling off the tires. So I automatically just think racing, I guess.
Hey, by the way, I remember over here in an old Busch Stadium in St. Louis doing a couple of games in the summer before it could get bad. But when I think of July racing, there are 2 races that I think of. The 84, and I'm going to sound like I'm 50, Firecracker, Pepsi, Coke Zero Florida, whatever race it was. Right. And then 2001, when Dale Earnhardt Jr. won at the same track that Twain was at. I mean, 84 was...
That one gets me in the feels, man. When you mentioned the junior one, that one gets me in the feels. I don't remember 84. I'm not going to lie. That one's definitely out of my realm. So you'll have to fill me in on that.
Well, in 84, Richard Petty went into that race with 199 wins. And a certain guest was coming to the race that day at Daytona. President Ronald Reagan said, "Gentlemen, start your engines." Actually flew to Daytona.
Didn't he do the start from Air Force One?
Yes, from Air Force One, no less.
Yep, because they were delayed, and so he had to do the start your engines, but they did land. In fact, there's a great shot where you can see they're following the cars around the track, and you see the plane land in the background.
And then that was a great battle between Richard Petty and Kerry Yarborough, and coming to a caution, and then Petty got ahead of Yarborough and won as the caution came out. And the funny thing about the race, Yarborough actually pulled the motor and went down the pit road with a lap left.
Oh, that's funny.
But the more recent one was obviously '01, after, of course, Big E's death at Daytona, and of course Junior with that paint scheme, and then in February, Michael Waltrip beat Earnhardt for the 500. Well, for the 400 was the reverse, and in a way, neither Waltrip never got to celebrate the 500 because his owner ended up dead. So that night, both of them got to celebrate wins.
Right. And then Mikey got his official 500 after that. He did get to enjoy one, of kind of a neutral experience. That was kind of cool to see on that Earnhardt special, because it never really dawned on me how bittersweet that is. Like how Dale's death, not only was he a car owner, but he was a very good friend of Mikey, right? Like they hunted and fished together, even though Mike wasn't big into that stuff. I guess not hunt, but he would be on the boat with them fishing, he would say, and they go fishing and whatnot. And they were good friends. So, Schrader coming to Victory Lane and whispering all that in his ear, like I never really understood, like that's not a fun win to have, right? Like it's the biggest race of all time. And do you really feel like a Daytona 500 when your buddy and car owner passes away, pushing you? Designed that the finish was going exactly as Senior designed it, right? Like he told Junior and Mikey, this is how it's going to go. And both the Dale and or Junior and Mike are in the mirrors thinking, wow, this is exactly what Dale told us was going to happen. And then, it's gone in an instant. That whole year was weird, man.
Yeah. And then we all know what happened in September that year, but that's another story in itself. I mean, and then a few years later, Earnhardt got to win the Daytona 500 himself, with Tony Stewart pushing him. And then we all know how well Dale Jr. loved Daytona and Talladega. I mean, find me a better driver in the early 2000s on the high banks.
Nah, he and his dad dominated those venues, and there's just no way around it. I don't know if it's just the way they're wired, if Senior showed Junior something, because there is kind of an art form to that racing. I think Junior would do especially well at Atlanta, because Atlanta is, a lot more of the old school Daytona Talladega type of race, right? Where it gets a little more spread out. Especially the leaders, kind of getting a single file line and being able to control your own destiny to make moves. Man, thinking about Senior at Talladega, right, with him and Kenny Wallace. I mean, Senior just made moves. You don't see anybody do that today with the race package at Daytona and Talladega, but you kind of saw it at Atlanta,
Yeah, honestly, I don't know about you. I don't know about you and Sean, but Atlanta brought back memories of like 2003, 2004 Daytona at night with guys making crazy moves. I mean, it seemed like nobody got to control the lead. One lap Chase Elliott's lead, then Alex Bowman's lead, then Brad Kay's lead, then Tyler Reddick's lead. And it's like, what's going to happen next?
I think they need to make Atlanta the July 4th weekend. That's if you want to kind of throw an olive branch to the core fans you've kind of crapped on and chased away. If you want to listen to Mark Martin and kind of give into the fans a little bit, everybody enjoyed the show. I didn't even hear drivers griping about how it tears up equipment so bad. It was one big wreck. And in all fairness, we haven't really seen the big one at Atlanta since we've gone to this style racing. This is the first real big one that I recall at Atlanta. It's been a few other ones that were multiple cars, but not to this degree. This we see at Daytona and Talladega a lot, but Denny Hamlin said it best. It thinned out the herd a little bit, and it really put on a good show for the rest of the second stage on. I don't know about you, Dylan, but as a fan, I thought that was a fantastic race to watch.
I mean, it was, and in a way, it brought back memories of guys. I mean, there were no team tactics in that race. It was basically every man for himself.
Yeah, 100%. So give me Atlanta on July 4th weekend, man. That's what I want. Forget this Chicago street race, man. Give me Atlanta. What do you say?
I'd be down with that Saturday night, maybe next year. But I'm not making this NASCAR schedule. Otherwise, I would have about 28 races at Homestead, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah, give me some Homestead.
Kyle Lawson won't mind Homestead being the championship
no.
race again.
He wouldn't. He wouldn't. Honestly, I think Bubba would enjoy it.
Yeah, Bubba. Yeah, Bubba was great at Homestead this year.
Last 2 years.
Bubba might actually win one.
Right? He's due.
Yeah. So third year at Chicago, I mean, you probably heard all opinions. I mean, we're not necessarily the biggest fans of Chicago streetways. What do you expect this weekend?
A bunch of cars to bury it into the tire barriers like we've seen the last 2 years, especially if they're calling for rain, like you said. Like, I haven't checked. Last I checked the forecast, it wasn't calling for any rain. However, we got a nasty storm here and where I live in western Wisconsin. So in theory, whatever we got hit with last night, I could see making their way down to Chicago by Sunday sometime. So if they get rain again, it's going to be what we saw the last 2 years. I mean, one of the things I found interesting as I did some of my work for the article I do over at Fantasy Guru, we've only, out of the 2 races, there's only been 3 drivers that have had 2 top 10s. Ty Gibbs.
Let me see if I can.
Oh, go ahead. All right. 3 drivers.
Let me see if I can. Well, one of them's obviously Ty Gibbs. Let me see. Is Justin Haley one of those guys?
Nope.
Christopher Bell.
Nope.
Chase.
Nope.
Oh gosh, this is gonna be.
I'm telling you, man, I would never have guessed these 3 drivers. I wouldn't have.
Have they won this year?
No.
Is Bubba one of them?
Nope.
Oh gosh. Give me a hint. I need one hint.
One is not necessarily known as a road racer, but we should give him credit where credit's due. The other one is kind of known as a road racer.
Is AJ Allmendinger one of those guys?
Nope.
Wow. Michael McDowell, dummy.
Ooh, that's one. Michael McDowell is one.
Is the other one Chris Buescher?
No. That kind of shocked me, but it was not Buescher.
Who was it?
Kyle Busch.
Oh, yeah. Then Kyle Busch ran Lakota.
So it was those 3. And of those 3, each of them had a top 5. But that's it. All right. Interestingly enough, for a DFS purpose, right, the highest priced drivers this week are SVG, Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell in that order. Interestingly enough, those 3 drivers finished last year's event in 37th, 39th, and 40th. The 38th place driver was AJ Allmendinger. All the reason I point that out is nobody knows what the heck's going to happen. The guys that wrecked out last year are the highest priced drivers at the daily fantasy books. The odds match it, so it's not like they're out in left field. Bell's been a solid road racer. I think he's one to like. He's shown good speed here. Interestingly enough, Denny Hamlin is priced way down for DFS, and his odds to win are ridiculous, like 40-1 on some books. We found off short 60-1. What's interesting to me is everyone's like, well, he sucks there. He qualified on the pole, finished 11th. He qualified 11th and crashed out last year. Well, so did Christopher Bell, SVG, Kyle Larson. All guys that are favorites going in. So, I think Buescher's a good bet if you're into betting. He's plus money on some books. I think someone told me he's plus 135 or somewhere in that range. He's been a top 10 guy. everywhere. I mean, my wife likes putting bets on him because she keeps hearing me refer to Chris Buescher as Mr. Top 10. That's all he does. I mean, go back and look. It's not just, I mean, he does it on the road courses, which people forget about, but he's Mr. Top 10 everywhere. He is an underappreciated, talented driver. Because if you look, they've had some speed at RFK. We've seen Brad up front, numerous races, not just the super speedway style drafting tracks, but numerous races. But it hasn't panned out, right? Buescher just keeps getting the top 10 finishes, man. I mean, that's all he does. So I just found some of that interesting data. It's been pretty wide open. We can't necessarily lean just on the road course racers. You know, Sean was really talking up Will Brown. I think that's a solid angle to look at. Will Brown comes from the same background that SVG does in supercars in Australia. So I think that's something interesting to watch. I don't know if I'd bet him to win, but quite frankly, Will Brown's kind of a favorite by the odds books. He's like 14-1, which puts him ahead of Ross Chastain and a whole group of drivers, Kyle Busch, a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, frankly, I think this is just one of those weekends where you could sort of throw the books out the window because yeah, it's a road course, but it's a street track in the middle of Chicago.
It's not even an original looking street course, right? Like think about IndyCars that has run a street courses all over this country over time.
Long
right?
Beach.
I mean, Long Beach is one. St. Petersburg is one, right? They did the one on the Isle there in Detroit, right? They've done it. I mean, now they don't anymore, but I believe they used to do one up in Montreal before they, were always at the circuit. I guess they've been at the circuit for a long, long time. But I swear they used to do a road. Maybe it was Toronto, I'm thinking, but they used to do one up there. They used to do one even at the airport in Cleveland, Burke Lakefront Airport. They used to do one, right? I would argue all of those IndyCar tracks were way more creative than what NASCAR has done here in Chicago. And I understand the appreciation for the Chicago skyline in the background, but it's not a fun track to watch. The passing zones, it's a very sterile racetrack, in my opinion.
Yeah, in terms of curve appeal, I give it about a 2 out of 10. I mean, this track doesn't look. I mean, it just looks like there are a couple good passing opportunities. I mean, one into turn 6, but then when guys go through in the middle part of the lap, it's basically followed the leader, and then
turn 1, you can outbrake them into turn 1 if you get in the inside. Depending on who's coming out of pit road at the time.
Oh yeah. And at some point, somebody's going to bend into a tire wall. I mean, we saw Kyle Lawson literally hydroplane and crash out of last year's race, and then SVG's car was wrecked. Was wrecked when somebody hit him.
Yep, that's what I said. I expect chaos. There's not a lot of passing zones. The braking zones are hot and heavy. It's easy to wheel hop and lock up the brakes. It's going to be wild. And I mean, from a betting DFS purpose, yeah, you like the road racers. From a DFS angle, I'm playing the place differentials, right? Trying to guess the guys at the back moving forward because of everything you said, D. I mean, will I be shocked if none of the favorites are in the top 5? No. Will I be shocked if all of the favorites are in the top 5? No. I mean, it'll be an eventful event. I almost want it to rain again, D. I mean, with the rain automatically comes chaos, the whole tire thing, and all the other bullshit nonsense that we don't really care about that just always seems to happen, that it's fun to poke fun at NASCAR because it's like, if you did this at Chicagoland, we're not even having these discussions. So, and really this car, let's be fair, this car is way better suited for the intermediate ovals than the road courses.
I mean, Coda wasn't that bad of a race, but Mexico really wasn't that great a race.
And I'm curious to see what Sonoma and Watkins Glen were. Coda was a stinker until they shortened the track, right? Like even Junior admitted that. He didn't think it would make a difference, and it did. So
I think Coda in a way might have been too long for the Cup Series, especially with that long turn 12 that F1 used down that long back straightaway that's long enough to hold an airplane.
I think that's fair. That's why I'm curious to see. I mean, Watkins Glen historically has always been a fun road course for these guys, right? I mean, it's not the most technical track out there, but there's a couple of spots that are. There's plenty of areas to pass. I mean, you get out of shape coming out of the bus stop. You get coming into turn one hot, going up through the chicane there. The final turn, you can kind of set that up. So it's kind of fun. You don't have that here, man. Everything is so tight. What it's like? It's like a poor man's Monaco. Right?
Chicago's Morningsville on steroids.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I don't know how much F1 you watch. I don't watch a ton, but Monaco is more hype than product, right? It's very tight. It's very small. It's narrow. There's not a lot of areas to pass. It's cool because it runs through Monaco, right? Like, that's the thing that makes Monaco great, is it runs through Monaco.
I will almost wish Monaco would be like a qualifying race, because I think that would be more enjoyable than the race when everybody's following the leader.
Right. That's why I said it's a poor man's versions of Monaco. It's tight. It's got a cool backdrop. It's got all of those things, but from a racing perspective, it's pretty garbage. I'm not trying to crap on F1's Monaco, but I think most F1 fans will admit, of all the racing you watch, Monaco is more hype and fluff, kind of like the Super Bowl at times, than it is the actual product. But we got to go to Chicago. It is what it is. I don't think Chicago will be back next year. I hope and pray if it is, it's Chicagoland. But I mean, Dylan, we got a bunch of we got what? Another road course after this weekend, correct? Don't we go to
wine country?
Yeah, so we go to Sonoma next. So at least Sonoma's a cool elevation changes. I mean, I don't know how much we'll be able to take away from this event.
I'm not.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Hold on 1 sec.
Yeah, Rich is checking his fireworks count. He's at 700 now.
No.
So, third time racing in 4th of July weekend. Why do you think NASCAR keeps trying Chicago doing this weekend?
So I think they think 4th of July works better because less businesses are open overall. So I think from a street travel perspective and that angle, they think that there's a good way to do it. They've made it clear that they want to be in Chicago. I mean, it's the whole reason they built Chicagoland and everything else. They feel like in order to be enough mainstream and enough big time, they have to be in large media markets. They're not, I would argue Pocono's in the New York area, but they're not technically in the New York market. That's why they've talked about the short track with the skyline of New York in the background. They were out there in Fontana. Remember, they used to always talk about it being with Hollywood and all of that. They want to be in these big media markets. They're not in New York. They lost the California one. So I think when Chicagoland was kind of looking at, having to drop off the schedule and the struggles they had, NASCAR's like, we got to find a way to be relevant in Chicago. I mean, remember what they used to do for the stupid playoffs, the whole thing at the Chicago Pier? Like they tried to make it. It's a big media market, so they're trying to make it something instead of just naturally let it happen. I mean, they get so much more support in Atlanta and Las Vegas, but they already have a presence there with the tracks, and so that's not what they want to do.
Yeah, and in a way, maybe I don't know what to say. Maybe NASCAR isn't catching on with the Chicago people who would rather spend the day on Lake Michigan or watch the Cubs or White Sox or watch the Bears play at Soldier Field.
And I think they just don't want to buy that as a reality, D. I'm with you, but and here's the thing: racing's always been regional. It's not like you can cater to everybody, okay? And I would argue Chicago to Indianapolis is a short enough trip that is part of that same region or demographic or area, but it's too far in their eyes to be the same. And I think that's unfortunate because I don't see a need to be in Indianapolis and Chicago. And Indianapolis is race country. And while I would argue that the changes they made to the track to go NASCAR racing, it's too narrow. There isn't really great passing. It's a much better open wheel track. And frankly, I think they ruined it as an Indianapolis 500 track even. I miss the old apron. I feel like that was the best racing we ever got when they had the apron that you weren't supposed to use, that everybody used. I get there was no
maybe the hybrid, and the fact that the leader couldn't pass lap calls, but that's a story for another day. Made it a little
with the apron or without?
Without the apron. Maybe the hybrid made it where like passing is next to impossible.
Right. And like you said, story for another day. But I would argue still that's race country, that's history. It's going to be pretty tough when Chicago to Indianapolis are separated by 3.5 hours or something like that. 4 hours. I mean, a lot of people in Indiana work in Chicago.
And Gateway's also part of the playoffs this year,
which is a very fun, unique track, which I'm so happy to see. But there again, Chicago to St. Louis isn't far. So, we have kind of Chicago surrounded, and I don't know that the people in Chicago really want to be NASCAR fans. They still thumb their nose at the whole idea. And I get NASCAR wants to lose the redneck mentality or moniker that comes with the sport, but I don't think you can force that change. That's got to be something that happens organically. And if there was a bunch of NASCAR bars in Chicago or something like Nashville has, I'd say it's a different topic. It's a different story, but that's not the case. So quit trying to force yourself in a place. Instead of go someplace fun or someplace that's fun with support. I mean, there's nothing up in the Minneapolis area, but for example, there would be a draw there just because you could pull from Wisconsin and Minnesota, and we're seeing that with Iowa. Iowa's a great little spot for that. It's not a bad trip. People from the cities and from where I'm at go down there. I wouldn't mind seeing Iowa have a stake on the schedule for Cup. It's unique too.
Yeah, I mean, for Iowa's first Cup race last year, I thought it put on a great show, and for once, Ryan Blaney didn't run out of gas, get wrecked early in the race.
I forgot that he won that. That was kind of a home track for him in his mind because of his mom. But
yeah, now Ryan Blaney's going to have twins.
Yeah, right. Go Ryan! Way to go, Ryan!
So obviously, we've seen F1 IndyCar run street tracks. There are rumors that NASCAR may be trying, a street race in San Diego next.
Yeah, I think is
that too ambitious?
Well, it goes back to they've lost Fontana, they've lost Southern California. There is no guarantee that they go back to Mexico, is my understanding. I think they will, even though I don't think they want to be honest about the cost impact to the teams. Look, F1's doing the road race in Vegas or the street course in Vegas. F1 and NASCAR keep trying to battle with each other. It's stupid. Race fans don't need to be divided. There's enough racing that people can watch. I like all sorts of racing, snowmobiles, ATVs, motorcycles, rally car. Formula One's probably the least that I like, but I mean, I've been known to watch a Formula One race, right? So there's no reason we can't. I mean, I remember Michael Andretti going to Formula One. Like, we used to cheer that stuff on. It's a shame that Kyle Larson got crapped on trying to do the double. Like, it should have been celebrated instead of being this massive distraction. I think NASCAR is going to go to San Diego. I think it's a done deal. I think it's likely it replaces Chicago.
I mean, I wish NASCAR was still racing Auto Club Speedway because I think both of us would agree, and I'm pretty sure Sean would say, yeah, Auto Club, they could race from the apron to the wall.
And it's funny because when that track first got on the circuit, I hated it. I thought it was a terrible show. But once the track wore in, that in Miami, I would argue, put on the best oval racing from a racing product perspective. Charlotte had a knack for getting boring. Atlanta was its own kind of cup of tea with the way the tires would wear and how fast you could be at times. Darlington is always Darlington, and it's different kind of excitement for me. You don't get the Kurt Busch, Ricky, not Ricky, Ricky Craven, finish like we did the one time, but you always got comers and goers and people getting in the wall. But from a racing perspective, I would argue there that Fontana and Miami just put on a great quality show.
Fortunately, that's no longer the case, but
baby, gone.
I know. It's goodbye. Yeah, although Michigan this year wasn't that bad.
Michigan's Michigan. It's always a few mileage race. Pocono, Michigan, they're always few mileage races.
As soon as that caution came out, I'm like, this is like the 59th straight Michigan race that's going to be won on fuel, and Denny
always is.
Beat the younger guys.
I said it in my article at both Pocono and Michigan. I write my article on a Wednesday, Thursday, and I put right in the article, look, this is going to be a fuel mileage race. It's always a fuel mileage race. We got to wait and see how it plays out.
Although I find it odd that Denny Hamlin followed Chase Briscoe the whole last one, and I'm like, I'm not saying Denny let Chase Briscoe win, but could there have been some gamesmanship?
I don't think so. I think Briscoe was overdriving the car, and when he started saving fuel, was legitimately running faster laps, and Denny didn't have anything for him. I legitimately think that was the case, because at that point, Chase was running fast enough laps. He could do the aero blocking. I think Denny absolutely would have gotten around him as long as he didn't have to wreck him to do it.
Sure. And we know from Kyle Lawson's experience that Denny's ruffled a few feathers at that track.
Yeah, so I mean, if he really felt like he needed to, he would have. But I think in that scenario, to your point, why wreck a teammate for a win when you don't need one if the teammate does? At the same time, I'm not going to let you have it for free, But
I mean,
Briscoe did a great job.
Ty Gibbs wrecked Brandon Jones out of the playoffs a few years ago.
Oh my gosh, dude! And he took out multiple people when he did that. Like that was a bad deal, man. And we saw it with the trucks again with Hocevar and Heim.
Oh gosh!
Right? I mean. Dude, Junior talked about in his podcast. I know you and I agree on this. I don't like the one race ends all scenario. I think it's crap. Racing is so much luck from a week-to-week standpoint. It only makes sense to look at a season-long perspective. It's not like stick and ball sports in that regard. I mean, you could have a bad day. Anybody can. But, I mean, when I say luck, legitimate luck, it's not like when the Chiefs and Eagles played that we were worried about somebody jumping out of the stands somewhere and landing on the quarterback arbitrarily in the middle of the game, ending the quarterback's day, and them going to a backup. Yeah, injuries happen on the football field, but it's with those players involved in those teams. You could have the guys running for the championship, and we've seen this in races where dude cuts a tire. It's not even his fault. Dude cuts a tire. A seagull flies into the nose of the car. Wildly, and it collects the guy behind him, and now there's a wreck that was just at the wrong place at the wrong time because of a bird.
I mean, you think of last week's race in Atlanta. I mean, it wasn't Joey Logano's fault that he was in the accident. He just literally drove through about 37 calls.
There was nowhere to go. I mean, like Corey LaJoy said, there was a bunch of smoke, and you're just looking for a hole somewhere. There's nothing you can do as a human, as a team, to prevent that. Whereas I would argue in football, your quarterback doesn't get hurt if you don't miss the block. Your quarterback doesn't get hurt if you hold the block through. Your quarterback doesn't get hurt if he gets rid of the ball in the appropriate amount of time. There's things that they control within themselves that impact those scenarios. Whereas in racing, there's not. You could cut a tire from someone else putting debris down. We've seen cars get loose in oil because someone starts to lose fluid. And then the next thing you know, cars are slipping all over the track. Like, it's so arbitrary. And then come down to one race, D, two thumbs down, man. It's terrible.
I mean,
it's a terrible way to do it.
SVG is not a playoff driver in my books. I think both of us would agree, whether you're a Hendrick fan or Route.
He's getting better, but I agree with you. He's not. And the sad thing is, D, I bet you he gets through the first round.
Wait a minute. You think SVG is going to get through Darlington, Gateway, and Bristol?
Yes. And here's why I say that. If you go look at what he's done at the Ovals, they've been not very impressive, but he's been like 16th, 17th. If you finish 16th to 17th through the first 3 races, and all 3 of them, you will advance. The only way SVG doesn't advance is if he wrecks, which is fair for anybody. Anybody that wrecks in those first 3 races has a very high chance of missing the cutoff without a cushion. But anyone near the bottom, you wreck, you're pretty much out of it. But if he could Ryan Newman the thing, man.
Oh, gosh. And then second round with the Roval in there.
All of a sudden, he's down to the final 8. You know what I mean? And I'm with you. He's probably not deserving to be there to begin with.
Yeah. If you were to change the NASCAR schedule, if you were NASCAR commissioner, NASCAR president, what would be the 5 things you would change on the schedule?
So just the schedule itself, like not like playoff lengths or anything like that, just the tracks on the schedule.
It could be playoff lengths, it could be call,
Okay.
it could be
First
whatever
thing I would do is I would shrink the playoffs to probably 6 or 8 drivers. Okay. And it would be just for the last 4 races. And those last 4 races would be all 4 types of tracks we drive. I would have a Daytona or Talladega in there. I would have a road course in there. I would have a short track in there. And I would have an intermediate in there. And we rack them up, and the top score after those 4 events is your champion. I would do no more than, I think 4 to 5 road races is the max. 5 seems a little heavy, but I would be open to 4. Watkins, Glen, and Sonoma both have to be on the circuit. Did we used to race at those twice? We've only always just raced once at them a year.
Once each thing.
All right. I'm fine if you want to keep the Schrank Coda track. I think you should add someplace like an Elkhart, maybe rotate it around. There's enough road courses in this country that are pretty decent, whether that be Brainerd, whether it be Elkhart, whether that be Atlanta, whether Mid-Ohio would be a good one, good call out, whether that be Lime Rock, that was kind of fun. Portland, there's enough, but I would do a rotating road race. You might as well keep Coda on the schedule. I'm not a huge fan of it, but after they shrank it, it's a lot better. I'm not doing the street races. They'd be gone. I don't want to do. I would reserve racing twice at one track for only probably 5 tracks.
Let me see if I could guess those 5 tracks.
I'm not even 100% decided on them yet, but go ahead.
Oh. Let me see if I could guess what those 5 tracks would be. Guessing Daytona would have to be one.
It kind of has to be, right?
Same thing with Darlington.
Yep.
What are you about 2 races at Martinsville?
For me, I think it's either Bristol or Martinsville.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't know where the racing is better. You know what I mean? I wouldn't mind alternating it a little bit. And this one will shock you. I think Charlotte needs to be there twice. And the reason I say that, it's home base. So since we don't give these guys a break throughout the year, I feel like you need to go to Charlotte twice to give them a bit of a break. Even though Bristol's pretty close, Atlanta's pretty close. I would also make sure we took off for Mom and God again. And I would also have a break before sometime in like the August time period before we get to the end of the year. And I also would make sure the season ended no later than the second or third week in October.
So would that mean you shrink the schedule?
Potentially shrink the schedule because we're going to less tracks twice for one. I think 29 races is the magic number personally. If we want to keep it 36, I think you have to consider some midweek events. And maybe that's where it makes sense to go to Charlotte twice. Where maybe you do Bristol on a Wednesday night and you do Charlotte then on the weekend. Two close events. Or maybe Martinsville. Richmond's pretty close. The Rock. I would love to see the Rock back on the schedule. You could do a Rock, Charlotte kind of combo.
I mean, Rockingham was an interesting race when the Xfinity Series ran there, and then the guy who won got DQ'd.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's all Jesse Love. But, oh boy. I think there were way too many playoff drivers. At most, I think I would have 6 at 8, but probably 4 to 6.
Fair enough.
I don't mind your idea of 4 races. I'm trying to think of the best 4 tracks in NASCAR where we could have a winner.
And see, the great thing is you could rotate them, right? Like the short track one year is Martinsville. The next year it's Bristol. The next year it's
Iowa,
right? The intermediate tracks, we got so many to choose from, right? And maybe instead of a Daytona or Talladega, it's Atlanta for the super speedway, right? It doesn't have to be a Daytona or Talladega, but now we've got 3 different tracks of those to choose from. You couldn't do Watkins Glen in October, most likely, maybe, but you could definitely do Sonoma.
Or Coda.
Or Brainerd, or not Brainerd, the one down in Georgia.
Road Atlanta.
Yeah.
I wish NASA could do like some of these F1 tracks, but I don't think that'd be possible logistically.
Boy, they've done it.
I don't think NASA's going to Spa anytime soon.
No, I mean they have gone to Japan, right? So
yeah. And Australia back in '88, I think it was.
Something like that.
Two, I think I would make it where this car's got more power.
Yeah, they need that, which they're talking about it. They're finally open to the idea of it. So cross your fingers, say a prayer.
3. I think Atlanta needs to be the 4th of July race. I know it pains me because I'm a Florida guy and I've grown up watching Daytona for years. But Daytona as the cutoff race seems like it's not going anywhere. So what other race can be there? It's not going to be Chicago. I think it's got to be Atlanta.
I agree.
4. I am not a fan necessarily of the championship race being a track that we have raced on earlier this season.
Ooh. I kind of like that little curve to it.
I'm not saying every championship finale at Homestead. But what if NASCAR hasn't raced at let's say Vegas or Kansas, or I don't think they would have a championship race. You imagine the Southern 500's the championship race that year.
What's that? The Southern
500. You imagine the Southern 500's the championship.
We can't do that because that race is reserved for Labor Day weekend.
As
right?
well, it
like
could
that.
be.
So we can't do that. But if you only race at Martinsville or Bristol once, if you only raced at Rockingham, you're looking at another potential short track, right? Maybe if you only go to Atlanta once, you could do that, or a Dega. I mean, there's so many different ways you could do that, but I kind of like the curve of whatever track we finish on, it's the only race of the year at that track.
I would also make it where there wouldn't be a set limit of Xfinity races where the top Cup drivers would be limited to running. I think the Xfinity drivers need help. And speaking of dogs, at least your dog's happy.
Yeah, he's wanting attention.
Of course, I've got a dog at home too. Sure, I'm guessing he's messed up. So I mean, this week in Chicago, weather looks like could be an issue on Sunday. Hopefully, it's just rain and not lightning, because if it rains, we can race in rain. If it's lightning, Houston, we have a problem. SVG 1-23, Alex Bowman 1-24. I mean, do we get 16 winners by the time of Daytona?
No, nowhere close. I mean, what we only have. Let me look. We only have like
7 or 8 races.
I was gonna say, man, don't we only have like 6 different winners this year?
Like 11 or 12.
Is it that many?
Yeah, it's every race for since the Coke 600 onward has been a new winner other than Danny Hamlin.
Well, I was gonna say, because I thought there was 3 drivers with 3 wins this year.
Bell, Hamlin, and Kyle.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Kyle, what is up with some of these guys in a funk? Like Kyle Lawson's been in a funk since the Indy 500. Of course, some of it's not his fault.
So we got 12 different winners, and we've got still got
3 road courses, Super Speedway, Indy, Dover, Iowa, and Richmond.
I don't think we get 16 different winners. It's going to be close, though.
Ask me if we have a new winner one of the next 2 weekends, I think it's possible.
I agree.
I mean, would it surprise anyone if AJ Allmendinger won?
No, but he hasn't been running particularly well lately. But, that's one of them I'm thinking of, right? Or does somebody getting it on fuel mileage or something like that kind of steal one away that we're not expecting? But, Reddick could easily win one of these, right? But if we get a repeat winner with an Elliott or something like that, or SVG, and then you got Daytona, which is always a wild card. Everybody's at play. Todd Gilliland, Michael McDowell. There's another one. Can Michael McDowell pull out a win here? Can Alex Bowman pull out a win here?
I mean, he did last year.
Right. Carson Host.
By the way, one other thing I would do, I'm getting rid of the stage break caution.
Oh, yes.
I think that flat screwed the last year's race.
I'm with you. Get rid of them.
It just takes away the rhythm. I mean, I remember the one race at Indy where there was only one caution. I'm like, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, we want to see guys race. We don't want to see 58 yellows.
Right.
I mean, I think that stage break hurt all the guys who pitted before the end of stage 2 in Chicago last year, but that was just me.
No, I'm with you, man.
So, if you could bet a penny on the race, I mean, SVG's 1-23, Bowman 1-24. What do you think happens in 25?
I think we need to watch for Bell, maybe Byron. I actually like betting Denny Hamlin because his odds are so jacked up. I mean, 60-1 on Denny Hamlin. It's just like that seems kind of ludicrous. I don't think SVG wins. That's more of the stance I'm on. I think we see somebody else win. I don't think SVG wins.
SVG is running the Xfinity race, so
I know
he'll have all the laps possible.
I was going to say he's going to have the most seat time. I can see Ty Gibbs winning this.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Ty Gibbs' first Cup Xfinity win was on a road course. And in many ways, I think Ty Gibbs' deficiency. Ty Gibbs has run better. I mean, ran great in Michigan.
He has some of the best driver metrics at this track the last 2 years. Like average running position, laps in the top 10 or laps in the top 15. Like there's quite a few numbers that's like Ty Gibbs has done really well here. It's just kind of interesting.
And where Ty Gibbs is in points, they're not going to worry about points.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Throw the strategy out the window. It'll be. Although, to be honest with you, if Ty Gibbs went to buy a beer in Chicago, he would need his birth. He would need Papa's birth certificate.
He probably would be. He probably would.
I mean, Ty Gibbs looks 12.
He does.
By the way, I am the trivia savant, so I'm going to ask you the trivia question first.
All right.
With this weekend being in NASCAR, we know NASCAR's race at Chicagoland and now the streets of Chicago. Back in 2001, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series ran an over-track race at Chicago, but it wasn't at Chicagoland. Can you tell me which current Cup Series driver was in that Truck Series race?
2001.
I think it was at like Chicago Motor Speedway on one of those tracks.
Kyle Busch?
Yes, Kyle Busch at age 16. And he was actually leading before I remember this race. Kyle Busch was leading, and I think he ran out of fuel.
Nope, that sounds about right.
And then he got bought by NASCAR for being too young.
Yeah, I know. That's where we got the Kyle Busch rule from all that.
And that, I mean, heck, Kyle Busch might win.
I don't hate it. I mean, he needs one. It's getting a little weird not having Kyle Busch win, I got to tell you.
I mean, it's almost sad not having Kyle Busch win.
It is. Although I will say that he is definitely more focused on his son's racing career right now.
I mean, if you've seen, it seems like every video I see is Brexton winning.
Yes, same. It's a lot of dad at the track, but it's Brexton running.
I mean, I don't think Kyle Busch is a bad driver. I just think OCO right now is,
I don't think they have the equipment. I think a perfect example of that, we've seen Austin Dillon be a top 10 driver, not necessarily a winning driver, but a consistent top 10 driver, and he's been nowhere near that. So if that's what Austin Dillon is with top equipment, they clearly don't have top equipment. So how much is Kyle getting out of the equipment that they don't currently have right now? That's the question for me. I don't think the equipment's there. I think you put Kyle Busch in a Hendrick car, he's winning races.
Oh, speaking of changes, I think we both found out. Speaking of changes, how about Connor Zillage taking over for Daniel Suarez next year? That's going to be interesting, bro.
Is that official?
Sure looks like it.
Well, I was to say, I think that's what's going to happen. I'm just waiting for the official notice because obviously
Daniel
Suarez is out.
Well, it sure looks like it. I mean, why would Suarez be out if Zillage isn't in?
And they're getting Zillage seat time, so I don't disagree. And look, this kind of Zillage kid's fucking good.
I mean, I don't know about you. I think Connor Zillage might have the best road racing pedigree. This is a guy who could run at Daytona, Le Mans. I mean,
I know.
honestly think next year Connor Zelic might be one of the 2 or 3 best road racers in the
He's
Cup Series.
he's second in odds. There's for the Xfinity Series, he's second in odds, and third in odds is Sam Mayer at 14-1. SVG is -115, -130, something like that, and Connor Zillis is +180. That's low. For him to be +180, 185 to win the race, less than 2-1 to win the race, and not be the actual odds-on favorite is insane. That is nuts. So we've got SVG and Dale Jr. equipment, and we've got Connor Zilic and Dale Jr. equipment. I think the Xfinity race might be the most exciting race to watch.
That's and Sam Mayer's really good on road
Courses. Yeah, I thought the 14-1, 9-1 makes sense to me for Sam Mayer. If they were at -1 something for SVG, +300 for Connor Zilic, or +400, and then Sam Mayer at +800, 900, that would make sense to me. What this tells me is the way it currently is set up is all the public's money is coming on those top 2 guys.
Yeah. I mean, who does Connor Zilic remind me of? I mean, I couldn't believe he won Pocono with Dale Jr. as his crew chief.
That was awesome. I don't know who he reminds me of, but from a talent standpoint, I think Heim and Zilic right now are the guys not in Cup that are the most talented in NASCAR. And I think we're seeing with Carson Hocevar that he's heck of a talent, and these guys are right with him. I can't wait to see these guys. No offense to the old timers. I'm excited for the next young group coming up. This crew, they aren't necessarily bulldozing people. You don't see Zilic just bulldozing people over. Hocevar gets over his skis at times, but we saw at Atlanta, he was putting his car in a good spot. So, and Heim is clean. Heim's not running people over.
I mean,
Heim and Hocevar don't get along.
Corey Heim all but led every lap of the road course race last week. But here's a funny story. If Corey Heim doesn't get an Xfinity ride next year, I'm not saying it will happen. I'm not saying this will happen. I'm not trying to start off rumors. What if he's in the 88 Xfinity car next year?
I think Heim's jumping the Cup next year.
Okay, so you're going to start rumors now. So then whose ride is he taking?
I don't know, because we've got to see how these charters things get figured out.
Yeah.
I don't know what Riley Herbst's deal is, but I could see him being replaced. I can see Justin Haley being replaced. Legacy wants to add a third charter and wants Jesse Love. We know that. That's something that's happened. The other name he mentioned was Zilic. So, if they don't have a spot for him there at 2311 or Trackhouse, I'm trying to remember who's got who signed. We know Suarez is out, so likely Zilic there.
Yeah, Zilic would be with 2311.
So, I just think that's the likely jump. Yeah, he's with Trackhouse. I just think that's the likely jump. I don't know that Heim's with Toyota. So the challenge I see is I don't see him going to JRM equipment in Xfinity. Why they didn't put him in a full-time Joe Gibbs machine already is kind of mind-blowing to me. But I think now, with as much as we've seen Heim in a Cup car, kind of like we've seen with Hocevar, I think the plan is for him to jump right to cars. I think teams are noticing that there's enough overlap with the trucks and the Cup cars. They don't have to go through Xfinity. So I think some of the higher talent, they're pushing through right from trucks to Cup. Zane Smith was another one that did that. I could see Zane Smith being without a ride, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Dinger. I could see Dinger losing the ride. I could see Alex Bowman losing a ride.
Ooh. But then if that were the case, why wouldn't Hendrick just get Zilic?
Because he's signed. He's on lease right now. Zilic has a deal with
Trackhouse.
Like that's and just like Heim has a deal with, I believe, 2311.
And I've heard rumors maybe Bowman would or won't lose his job, and if that's the case, I'm guessing Hocevar.
I could see it. I could see Hocevar coming over to the 48 car.
I don't think Henry would boot Alex Bowman.
I don't know
I mean,
what his contract deals are.
I think he signed for next year. I know Hendrick locked up Byron. I think Lawson's not going anywhere. Excuse me. Now we're going to look up contract deals.
Well, like I said, I don't know what Bowman's contract deal is. I don't know if he's got another year, if it expires at this year. But I mean, if it expires at this year, I could absolutely
under contract through 26.
Okay, so it would be next year. So Bowman's likely sticking around, right? Haley, I know, is on a hot seat. Herbst, I believe, is locked in through 2026, I believe. Riley Herbst. But we've seen weirder things happen. I mean, the guy that just bought Rick Ware Racing, is he going to give a spot to one of these younger drivers? He just paid $100 million for those teams.
Yeah, I mean, or at least a top-notch driver. I mean, Cody Webb's not going to be driving one of those cars. I mean,
right.
All right, Reg. Thanks for hopping on. Hopefully your dog enjoys fireworks, and we'll see you later.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to take care of it before we end up with the world is ending, the sky is falling panic mode. You know, that's kind of the thing. But Dylan, I tell you what, man, I always love coming on, and I did not think I was going to get your trivia question. I feel kind of proud that I did, but I really appreciate you having on, and I can't wait for us to have you back on the Race Guru Thunder Hour soon.
Oh, I'll bring that. You bring the thunder. I'll bring the lightning.
Ooh, just not this weekend. You hold the lightning this weekend because you said it best. At least if it rains, we can race. If it's lightning, we cannot race. So, Dylan, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. And we'll talk soon, buddy.